All right, welcome to the discussion session on Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. Andrew Flynn's joining us in a minute. Steve is here. Jeff Seager's getting a drink, I think. Manager McGill, you want to get us rolling?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Tonight's agenda, we have a public hearing for the capital improvement program for the years 2026 to 2030. We previously covered that with the commission and discussion session. And then we also have the consideration for two resolutions. One is to authorize the following of an application for a Keystone Recreation Park and Conservation Fund grant. That's for phase 1 of the library project. And an associated resolution regarding the use of the library as a requirement for the grant. A resolution is required ensuring the undisturbed use of the facility as a public library for 50 years or the useful life of the project. So we did both of these back in 2019, I believe, when we got the last grant application for the library. And these are, again, related to the grant that we will be filing related to the phase 1 project that Robin will cover, not yet.
You pointed back.
Oh, that was too good.
But it's her time. It's your time, come on. I was just messing
Come
with you.
on down. Hi, everyone. Robin?
Is Andrew on yet?
He sent me a text that he was having some reception issues, so I don't know if he's on or he's not on.
Got it.
Okay, so I think you all received the one-page fact sheet that we sent this out to those who we needed letters of support from, and it's just a basic overview of phase 1 of this project. We presented at least once, maybe twice, about this project in the past, and it's currently a 3-phase project, and this grant will be applied to phase 1 of the project, which is about $1.5 million. And since everybody loves floor plans, I brought floor plans if you want to look at them.
Robin, this is the information we covered with Draw Collective.
Yes, this is all covered. I don't know if you have these exact plans, but I just wanted to give them to you. The top right is the upper entrance of the library with the children's library at the top, and then to the left is the adult side of the library.
Can you do, just for the vast viewing audience, can you just give like a 30-second overview of all the changes that are happening?
Absolutely, yes. So basically, you can see in these drawings where the changes are going to happen and what exactly is going to happen. And the primary reason we're doing this is to improve our restrooms for ADA accessibility and also our entrances to the children's library and to the outdoor courtyard garden for the same reasons. Just they're very narrow and don't always accommodate wheelchairs and strollers and things like that. So we're going to be improving those spaces, all new restrooms that will accommodate the radius for an electric wheelchair. There'll be an extra study room space available. There'll be a sensory room on the children's side for, our younger users who are overstimulated or people that are, nursing mothers, anybody that needs a little quiet space away from the rest of the hustle and bustle of the children's library. And new service desks that will allow for better visibility and a better user experience. So that's the very high end part of this.
I just want to remind Commission that the bathrooms on the bottom floor are also not ADA accessible because they cannot accommodate a wheelchair radius. So this is really very necessary for those patrons that use the library that are wheelchair bound.
So some other upgrades that go along with all of this will be some lighting upgrades, HVAC modifications. As a result of moving the bathrooms and things, we'll be forced to reorganize and reconfigure our staff offices a little bit. That's kind of an unforeseen benefit, or it's not something we were aiming for necessarily, but it is a benefit. And sound mitigation is another another thing that is going to be throughout all three phases of this project. Our library is very beautiful, and it is just a conduit for sound carrying up and down the long open stretches of the library. So sound baffling will be incorporated in many places.
It's a fabulous project.
And you also get some increased accessibility or better accessibility to the courtyard.
Yes, so
Still right.
yeah, the door right now, I believe, and I wasn't here at the time, but the library was completed in '97 and that courtyard garden was built in 2000. And from what it looks like, it looks as though the doors to the courtyard garden now were just emergency exit doors that were turned into courtyard garden doors. They're the only windows to the courtyard garden are on the children's side. The doors are very small. It's very hard to even see the garden or know that it's back there. So this is going to enlarge the opening, make it easier for strollers and wheelchairs to access the garden, and also make it easier for people to see the garden and enjoy it from the inside of the library as well as the outside. There's also a quiet reading area that they have planned that's going to incorporate a fireplace, so that's exciting too.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Great project. Very needed.
And there is a required 50% match from the municipality. It's a little over 50% because I think there's $40,000 of non-eligible costs.
Right, and that money doesn't all have to come from the actual municipal pot. The library's fund balance can be used for that as well as donated funds. We're going to be putting all of our Love Your Library Month and annual appeal funds towards this project until it's completed. And the Friends of the Library are also going to contribute to the project.
Did I see somewhere that there was, someone passed and made a donation to the library? Was that?
Yes, that's actually going to be applied to phase 2. The Helene Bush Foundation, they closed out their foundation and they gave a closing gift of $125,000 to the Friends of the Library, specifically to be used to improve the children's library. And since that's phase 2 of our project, we added that in the CIP under the phase 2.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The Friends plan to contribute additional funds beyond that $125,000. We're just not sure what that looks like yet because there are going to be some costs after the Draw Collective's estimate project is complete. There's still gonna be things like shelving and furnishings that aren't part of that estimate, so the funds can put the tab there.
I love the library. I have to ask some funding questions, however.
Absolutely.
Like, Dad, where's the money coming from? Keith, what is, obviously looking how much for not just phase 1, but for all 3 phases, what is vision for other municipality funding for this?
Given the size of the funding that we required, we will actually fold that into a bond issue.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay, all right, thank you.
That, of course, will have to be approved by the commission.
It will be, given the timing of such, I am hoping that we have a couple of new commissioners that will be in favor of such bond, as 2 of us, I suspect, will not be in our chairs at the time this comes up for a vote. You tell me, is the timetable be fast enough that we can vote on this now, or no?
Yeah.
I didn't think so, but I gotta ask.
It's not.
We'll come back and give public comments in support of it.
Absolutely.
Never see you again.
I heard Steve volunteer to help with the fundraising, didn't you?
I don't know, my family, we were talking about the countdown, and they're like, Tuesday, Dances with the Stars, so they're with my great family.
Dancing with the Stars, perfect, yeah.
That's we're all dancing here.
I think Steve had previously committed to the Activate Uptown Clearview Common.
Yes, true, that too, I think
Which is a
so.
big number, so.
Yeah, I know, I think he
just
did,
the word
yeah.
that's gonna be memorial bench, so.
All right, is that it? Thank you, appreciate it, great.
Great.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Robin.
We got Gateway.
Low meters.
Thanks, everybody. I'm here tonight with Dennis Flynn, who's going to update us on the consent order and then ask the commission to spend some more money monitoring our results. I'll let Dennis take it from there.
Okay, nice to see you all again. I think May was the last time that we were here talking about consent orders, so I'll give a little bit of the background, but we'll be brief on that and mainly get into the meat and potatoes of the next steps and where we're at in order so far. And also there's some good news too, not just spending money on some additional meters, but we got some additional grant funding news that I can share as well. So with the background, again, we're in the phase 2 order. We've been through a number of steps here through the initial phases and feasibility study in the phase 1. Within that phase 2 order, progressing through there that you are here, we're under construction right now. That was last year we talked about the large construction projects. Mount Lebanon really got out in front. We did some larger construction projects over the years prior to this year. That's all wrapping up now, and we're getting ready to move into the performance assessment, which is due by June 2026 next year. So with that, that's where we'll get into the meter discussion and the monitoring in order to better understand how these projects actually fared. With that, by the end of next year, we'll complete a final report that'll be submitted to the county health department. And then ultimately, there's a regional report that will include all the individual reports, as well as a kind of overall, and it's essentially setting up the next step for what will be the next order in the phase 3 order that'll come after that.
Do you have a sense of when that is or when that would be?
So currently, the order that we're under right now is signed with a completion date of 2029. So it's expected that this order will run until 2029.
Then we'll go for like
that's
a
just
period of
giving
time.
about like those 2 years worth of time in between when that final report is completed and working with DEP on what that next consent order is gonna look like.
'Cause they
Essentially
can't-
how we're gonna change those metrics that we were trying to hit this time.
So now that when they came to us with this consent order, it was like a huge amount of money. And everyone was like, yeah, we can't do that. So then they're like, okay, what can you do, right? So like, is the expectation that it would follow that process the next time too? So like in 2030, they'll come to us with a ridiculous number. In 2032, everyone gets their act together and says we can't afford it. 2034, we start another kind of decree conversation. 2036, maybe something's worked out. Like that's kind of what we're thinking.
I think this time around, just because they saw how that went, that's why they gave that window of the 2027, we're given the final reports, building those 2 years into it of between 2027 and 2029 is to have those discussions to try to set it up for 2030. In regards to the overall cost, because we did that feasibility study, we said that's not feasible.
Right.
It's really gonna depend on what the outcome of this one looks like too.
Yeah.
If they
So maybe
come
they work
through
off those
and
numbers.
everybody's made a significant decrease, then that might kind of change how the next step looks.
Plus Alcosan's doing their work too.
Right, Alcosan's doing they're doing large interceptors and so they're able to accept more flow. Again, they have a maximum
Right.
amount. And Alcosan's also performing the regionalization, which Mount Lebanon's participating in that too for any shared sewers and larger sewers. So with all that, they are gonna make sure that the municipalities are doing their part, removing I&I. It just depends on, once we get through this whole first phase of everybody doing significant amount of construction, where does everybody stand? How much I&I is left to remove? Because there's only so much you can kind of squeeze out. The water's going somewhere too, so.
Is the rest of it in the laterals mostly?
It's expected at least 50% of it's coming in through the laterals, and we do have that blind eye to it essentially with this order. So there may be something within that next order surrounding that. What we've seen from, the other cities around the country that have gone through the same consent order process, that probably is common,
next thing.
something might be
Okay.
part of the future.
Thank you.
So part of it again, Mount Lebanon, just being at the top, we have the 17 different sheds. Of those, Eight were within the threshold. We had 2 that were tributary to an SSO, and the other 7, an SSO is a sanitary sewer overflow. Again, none in the municipality of Mount Lebanon, but just because you were tributary to, you had to complete a project. And then 7 that were over that threshold. Just an overview, again, looking at the overall municipality, you gotta kind of orient yourself. The north arrows to the left on this. But it looks a lot worse with the big blotch of red. That is primarily Painter's Run. That's one of our bigger sewer sheds, which was over the Gold Line standard. It's where we focus the majority of our work. A lot of work's going on in that sewer shed currently. So with that, there's approximately almost 100,000 lineal feet of CIPP or cured in place pipe lining that has been proposed as part of the work over the years. With that, the required removal per the consent order is about 360 million gallons per year. Currently anticipated to remove 450. That's theoretically based on the calculations that you use to evaluate. That's taking into account not just these larger projects that we're proposing, but also just the lining work that we're doing on a regular basis too. So it's the O&M work that's done, operation maintenance work that's done on a regular basis, as well as the larger grow projects, which we've got a lot of grant funding for.
Like even considering that Mount Lebanon is kind of top of the watershed, we've done more than our fair share of work there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and we do have, it's an older system, it's a very dense system, so there's a lot of work to be done, but I think the last metrics were over 40% of the entire system has been lined, which I know in kind of working with Rudy, that's one of the main goals, just, we want to rehabilitate all of it. It's 70 to 100 years old in a lot of cases, so.
And the consent order is just accelerating that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've even kind of maybe changed the direction. The operation and maintenance, we're looking for specific defects maybe that we're repairing. Now it's a little bit more proactive in terms of where we're seeing I&I or inflow into the system and kind of lining a lot of those lines.
plus the proactive nature of the work allows you to apply for grants. Alcoasand knows, and we produced everything that they've looked for to use us as a model. So I think that's why they've continued, and Dennis has done a great job with the grant.
We've gotten a lot of money.
Yes,
Yeah, we really have.
and you have to be doing work to get money.
Yeah. And so throughout that, like even for this year's operation and maintenance repairs, about 92% of the way through. The cycle 7 and 8 grow projects, that was what we kind of consider those phase 1 projects. We got 100% of the way through those. That was in situ form. That was a lot of the work that was done last year. We actually had some post monitoring completed. We have that data. We're starting to process some of that data, so we'll have some preliminary results of those projects. And then the cycle 9 and 10 grow grants, that was Begg Snyder and the overall larger corrective action projects. That's what was being performed this year. Again, with a substantial completion anticipated in November and a ready for final payment of the end of November. We're still trending towards that as well. This is just showing very quickly that initially back in May when we talked, we showed 63 of the liners were completed. Since then, 163 liners were completed. And that's just based on what we have in the database. Again, I know the contractor was out there working today. I was talking to a resident on it today. So and they even have a couple of crews out there, so they're working pretty quickly through it. This was something I know kind of Dan really wanted to show this, a little bit of a metric of showing what we're trying to achieve here. So ultimately, again, that required removal about 361 million gallons. We are expected to remove about 351 or 451 million gallons if everything kind of goes according to what was theoretical. As of right now, based on work actually completed, we're anticipating that we've already removed about 347 million gallons. That's again just based on theoretically what should have been removed from those pipes being repaired. So we're already near our goal. The actual amount that will be determined based on the metering that was performed and what we're going to talk about for the meters to collect data into 2026.
Is that just like a random drawing, or is that
I mean, we made it, but.
I just thought it would be a good graphic, like what are we trying to get to the top
Sure.
of the manhole?
Yeah, essentially just
Like the temperature.
showing it emptying. We did it.
Fundraising, fill the can.
Well, we did have another one where it was a manhole filled with like the cash, essentially, of what
There
we've
you
done
go.
from grants along the way. So this is the spending portion and what we talked about. So for 2026, and this would be expected to be on the commission meeting for the October 28th meeting, not tonight, in 2 weeks from now. So for the metering, in order to do post-monitoring evaluation of all the sites and then complete our reporting for the consent order, it was a total of about 14 locations. With that, Alcoasand has already taken care of 2 of those locations with us and working with other municipalities upstream, well, primarily downstream. They're taking care of about 3 other meter locations. That leaves 9 meter locations. So for budgeting purposes, we're using that as a worst case scenario, 9 meter locations, 6 months worth of data. That's anticipated to cost about $1,500 to $2,000 a month. And we are working with the 2 main metering contractors in town to see if we can get a bulk rate even for all the metering we're doing across the board. But with that, it's anticipated to cost about $81,000 to $108,000.
Before we vote on this, can you guys give us a total amount that we've received, Andrew may have this too, of Grow Grant monies?
We can, and I think I even have I have a quick slide on that we'll just
Oh, okay, good.
give the quick overview on that. Here's just that map again, just showing the rough meter locations. The pink X's are showing where we're proposing those meter locations. Again, most of them are along the, edges of the municipality as the flow's leaving.
And are these new meter locations? These are locations we haven't metered before?
No, primarily they're all areas that we have metered before. We had pre-metering
Yeah,
before the work was
gotcha.
done.
Oh.
So then really it'll be a comparison after the fact to show, okay,
How
how
much
much
we took out.
was actually
Yeah.
removed by that work.
Okay.
And the art is trying to determine through all sorts of analyses of what the situation was at the time that you did the pre-metering and trying to compare that to the post-metering, right?
Because rainfall changes,
there's a lot
it
of
might look
factors.
like it went up, but it might just be a rainier year in 2026.
No, it's
so-
helpful, because we had resident pushback on a lateral ordinance because we had really no data, although scientifically we know that I&I is an issue. But we didn't have data, which was technically true. We didn't have a lot of data to prove that one way or another. So hopefully this gives us more of what we need so that if in the future we need to go down the route with the lateral ordinance, we have a lot more data to prove why it's necessary.
Yeah, and at this point, that previous map that I showed that had those large red areas, that was based on either metering or flow isolation as a way to kind of hone in on where those hot spots are of that I&I. So it is showing that those very red, we've done, probably lined all the lines in a lot of those areas that are red. So once you come back, there's not much else you can do from the public side. So when you still have that I&I, you know that there's only certain sources of it.
Yeah.
So that's where we're going as far as we can. We're chasing it as
Right.
much as we can at this point.
Okay.
So for the grant funding, this is a quick little slide on that. Over the year, total project costs that were considered for award are close to $12 million. To date, we've spent about 6.6 and kind of we have another kind of 2.3 that's working through. Those contract amounts ended up coming in a little bit lower than even the original grant amount. With that, about $3 million worth of grant funding. I don't remember if we put this in before our news from, I think it was either last week or the week
Right.
before on the newest grant. But, and that was just from the Alcoasand funding. We've also gotten small water and sewer grant funding. That's through the state as well. And so we had just around $500,000 with a 85% grant match on that. So that was for the one site in which we had both sources of funding that were working together.
So in essence, it's about 25 to 30% of the work has been grant funded.
Yeah,
Rough
correct.
just on a large scale basis.
Yeah, and even that, what we've tended to try to do is even that O&M work that we do on a yearly basis, we've gone through and requested reimbursement of that. So those are funds already spent. So at that point, even though that work wasn't initially done in order to remove INI, what we found through some of the metering is that it was successful in doing so. So we were able to get some of that grant funding back. So essentially that was money already spent that we're getting
Sure.
grant funding for.
Yeah.
It'll also be interesting to see, given that the real estate climate that's out there right now with the changeover in houses in Mount Lebanon, I know that almost every house gets their lateral inspected just as a part of the real estate process now. So it'll see if there's any benefit to that, laterals that have been replaced already. It'll be interesting to see that,
Yeah.
Yeah,
kind of put that overlay on things
Sure.
too.
Yeah, and there have been some municipalities, because there was an optional piece of this that allowed you to get to include that as part of the ordinance. So some municipalities did proceed with that. So it will be interesting to see that too, just across the board. So we work hand in hand with Three Rivers Wet Weather that is trying to collect all that data
sure.
so that we can use that just to
There is a-
better understand the future and which way we're
I
gonna go.
just want to say so in 2018, when we had all those storms and we had a lot of sanitary sewer overflows, this work goes to prevent that. And so like, we had dozens of residents come in and talk about nurseries that overflowed with sanitary sewer, just nasty stuff. I mean, just nasty. And that happened at a lot of places. So all this work is going to prevent that kind of stuff. People's basements flooding, garages flooding, homes flooding.
We also have a number of places where we've just taken a proactive approach and put backfill preventers on at the municipality's expense
Right.
and that we inspect yearly.
Yeah.
So not only are we trying to, I mean, that's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we would like to be able to say we can pull those out and the system's functioning the way it should.
Sure,
Yeah.
But
sure.
we are protecting them in other ways too.
Yeah. No, we did a lot of work then when we had like 200-year storms and that
Yeah, with the
within the span of a
99,
couple
yeah.
months.
You're never gonna design necessarily to that, but you gotta look for what those and any of this is helping in that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, we had quite a few residents who had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage to their homes because of overflows and
So I would just wanna kind of point out this is the Growth Cycle 11. We had applied for this back in May or June, I believe. Just heard last week, I think Keith got the agreement last week or the week before. So with this, I mean, one thing that kind of, was a little bit different than most was we had actually received grant funding for this previously. So it was the Cedar and Eisenhower repairs that we had received grant funding for back under Growth Cycle 6. That was for a grant amount of $87,000 for a total project cost of $490,000. Because that was intertwined with some other work that had been done, we said, why don't we apply for reimbursement on this? We did metering work. That metering showed that we had, a high amount of removal. So instead of only 17 to 18% match, they awarded, the total project was closer to $1 million, like $950,000. And so they awarded 60% of that instead of the 17 to 18%. So that's $580,000 that we got for that grant. And that's all money previously spent. So that money was already spent, so that's just getting reimbursement for that $580,000.
What about a timetable, when do those funds come back? It's like a 6-month waiting period, a 1-year waiting
So
period.
tonight, I will ask Commissioner Grella to sign that grant contract. I'll send that in. And then typically, Andrew, I'm not sure what their turnaround time is for actually sending us.
A while.
I was gonna say, I know it's not a quick process, Steve.
They won't give it all to us at once, and there's a whole rigmarole to it,
but it's money
we're not
spent,
getting it
money
in
will eventually get
2025 if
back,
that's
that's
what you're
great.
asking.
No, no, I mean, is a year a safe guess?
You will get it late 26 is my guess.
Okay, all right, thank you.
But we funded those projects knowing we had the room to fund those projects. We thought we'd get something back based on experience, but that's a good
We're
number.
always hopeful.
60%.
60%'s a high number.
It's huge.
Yeah, normally we're in about the 20% just for lining. And that's also the difference there too. And when we're proposing a proposed project or a potential project, they're normally gonna cap us at no more than 25% just for lining work. You know, they save a lot of that for the larger, like stream separation projects or people that are combined sewers. But because this was a reimbursement, we had the proof showing that it was very successful, we were able to get that 60% grant. So, and with that, with the success that we had, we did submit LOIs just recently for the next round for growth cycle 12. So there again, it's a potential amount of project costs and about the $5 million with, you know, anywhere, again, it's a wide range, it could be anywhere from 15 to 85%, but even $1 million or around $1 million would be expected in reimbursement for
And these are
those.
projects we already have ongoing.
Yeah, but some of them are ongoing, some of them are even getting a head start on, we know that there's going to be another order. We're gonna have those meters in the ground starting 2026, so if we start to reduce some of that additional I&I. We mainly just looked at those areas that were high or close to the threshold and said whatever the next chunk of repairs are that would help to further reduce us. Alright, that,
3 minutes over, that's pretty good.
yeah,
You'll make it.
alright.
Well, Dennis, that's great.
Craig, did Denny answer your question?
Yeah, good, thank you, yep.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Alright, well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sidewalks.
Sidewalks.
You want me to kick it off while you pull it up?
Yeah, yeah.
Alright, so thank you, Commission. We're here once again to talk about sidewalks. This is somewhat of a recap of the Woodland Drive sidewalk project, which has a few final pieces to be cleaned up and installed. There's a punch list of items that was provided to the contractor. I know I've gotten several calls and emails from residents over the last week asking about when final restoration is going to be done, but I know John Meliza from Gateway and his team have been out there constantly hounding the contractor to get it done and gave them a final list of things that need to be done. So we are still on the contractor to get those done. But we thought, kind of as a wrap up to the project, it would be good to give the commission a summary of, you know, what all went into the project, and then as the commission leads into budget season, kind of where we're potentially going next with sidewalk installation based on prior direction from the commission, and if there's any considerations for changes or updates to the program that the commission may want to make, you know, along with some lessons learned, because this was our first foray into the municipality installing sidewalks, instead of them being installed by a developer or someone else. So this really was our first go with it. There were some very good lessons learned, and with that, I'll turn it over to the Gateway folks to kick things off, and I will chime in as needed.
So, thank you for having us here tonight. I think it's always good to look at projects, especially when you start doing them. Again, we're doing something new. We all have lessons learned, and Dawn's done a really good job of trying to follow this project through construction. There's a picture on the front of, along Woodland, of the finished product. Doesn't even look like we were here. You can see a different type of material here. This was one of the issues where we had different materials here versus what we wanted to put in the right of way. Those issues all sorted to ferret themselves out. But as we jump into, you know, really like how we got here, the commission decided to take on these sidewalks. And of course, this was the first one that we went after. Our intention here tonight is to give you, you know, summary of the lessons learned, try to get some consensus from the commission on any changes that we will look at, and then review and recap any of the remaining sections that need to be done. So Ian put this great timeline together in terms of steps of what needed to be completed on the project. And you can see in particular with the Woodland sidewalk, we started with the type, size, and location study that was done way back in July of '23. There was policy updates regarding the sidewalk policy. Then we looked at the initial funding, and we were authorized in the budget to do the work. Then we had additional funding after we looked at the costs again, allocated from unassigned funds.
And that was because the initial funding from the budget in 2024 was only for half of the street. And upon further discussion, the commission wanted to do the whole section from Terrace all the way to MacArthur. So that was the additional allocation of funds there.
So then we start the process with the residents. The initial letters went out to the residents. There was a neighborhood meeting. Then there were additional letters sent to residents. And then specifically as it related to the people that we needed to do driveway work that was sort of outside the right-of-way of the road, those required specific agreements to be prepared. And I know Ian and Phil spent a lot of time with residents trying to get to the point on some of those projects, or some of those properties. We actually bid the project and then we received those in April. We got the final agreements to the residents in late April. The commission authorized us to get going on the contract. We did a pre-construction meeting, and then finally they started in June after school let out with the initial construction.
And I do want to note, though, that from the initial time we first sent a letter to residents, to there were 29 properties, the last cost-sharing agreement wasn't received for a year following that, till June of '25. So some of the residents took, as you saw, 4 or 5 letters that we had to send them to actually get them to sign the agreement to get rolling with this project. So there was a lot of communication and work that went in from myself, from Phil, from other municipal staff members to try and get us to a place where we actually had all the residents on board with the signed agreements.
Do you have like an estimate of that work? Like I'm wondering like how much work went into getting, so like X number of hours went into getting Y number of dollars from residents. Do we have that?
No, we don't track hours per project.
Okay.
Not on the municipal staff side.
Right.
Right, on gateways.
Yeah.
So we have gateways, but we don't have municipal staff. So you're saying a lot of hours, but that's like a kind of like, that's like not a real number. Is it like 5 or is it like 500?
I would probably say, if I had to guess off the top of my head, probably I sent 5 letters out. There was probably at least 10 hours of work per letter that went out, plus then follow-ups with numerous residents on the street between calls and emails. I mean, I would say as a pretty safe low-end estimate, 25 hours per letter.
Okay.
With 5 letters sent out,
And
plus
I-
then all the time spent after we actually started construction.
Because what I'm trying to figure out is, if we do this on future straits, is it worth the trouble of charging residents 10%? Or is it better if the municipality just eats it?
The real question wasn't just the money. A lot of the question comes down to right-of-way, people being on their property, damage to grass, and what are you gonna do about that?
Systems, you name it.
Changing sprinkler systems, changing the materials for driveways. We said it had to be brushed concrete, they had
Okay.
poured aggregate.
Right.
I mean, it was, you know, I had one woman call and scream at me about taking out trees, because who cares about ADA? Wrong person to call on that. Nevertheless, you know, but anyway, you know, this is just, it's very difficult. There's a lot of disruption when you do something like this, but it's also very difficult for people to have people coming on their property and doing stuff.
Exactly. And I mean,
That's just, I mean, it's like,
that's in essence, that's what it is. As soon as you step off
Yeah.
of that right of way,
boom.
or you're really not off the right of way, you're on their
Yeah.
perceived property. It's really not their property, it's still our right of way, but
But to
they
them, it's
maintain
theirs.
it. They maintain it, yes.
I guess what I'm asking is this, right? So like when we say you're gonna cover 10%, there's that piece of ownership there by the resident, as opposed to all of the residents of the municipality saying sidewalks are the most important thing we do, and the municipality is mandating that get done. So like when the municipality comes in and says, we're doing sidewalks on your street, deal with it, those conversations go away, right? Like they may argue, but it's like,
No, they don't go away. That's,
so you're saying they might,
No,
like they
no.
would sue or something like that?
Yeah, the reason that whether it's 10%, 0%, we still want them to sign something, because if we're gonna expend all the money, we want them to
Maintain it.
release claims and also be aware that they're gonna have to maintain the sidewalk. Like you said, the sprinklers, the walls, the shrubs. When we put a sidewalk in, and if it's in the right of way, we have the right to remove that stuff. They don't see it that way.
That's right.
And so
That's right.
you're going to deal with, you damage my dog fence, my sprinkler, I want $10,000. And what we do is upfront is saying the sidewalks are going in, you can pay the whole cost, or you can pay 10% of it in sidewalks.
Yeah, and we had problems with slopes. You know, we had to go beyond the right of way because of the slope in the driveway to be able to get the right angles, so to speak, on the sidewalk. I mean, it's very disruptive. On the other side, people really are pleased with it. I mean, I've had calls, of people who complained, who called me and said, oh, this is just great. I take back my being angry at you. And I'm like, well, good thing I have a thick skin, because.
There was also a very nice, I'll say,
Yes.
grassroots effort
Yes.
by residents that were not
To help
directly
pay.
impacted to help offset costs
Yeah.
for
Right.
residents that were
Right.
impacted, so.
Yeah, they did, yeah. It turned out really well, and you're to be commended, John, because you were very, very responsive, and I appreciated that, because I had to reach out to you. And you were very responsive, thank you.
It's just an expectation level. I mean, we take it for granted with the street reconstruction, it kind of
Right.
quietly happens
Right,
because we have a very good contractor, we have a system, we've done it a number of years. It just goes much better, you
Yeah.
know?
this is hard,
Yeah.
you know, but,
So as far as what went right, we'll start with the good news. First and foremost, the commission provided very clear parameters about what the group wanted as far as compliance with municipal standards, compliance with ADA specifications, and that was very helpful for both staff and engineers, that when we went out and talked to residents, we knew we had the commission support behind us, and there's that very clear direction from the group. As well as commission support for the decisions that we made in some certain instances out in the field where we had to, go out. We had numerous meetings with residents. I know John met with probably at least half the residents on the street, going out to their properties and talking to them in person. I was on a couple of those meetings as well. But knowing that the commission backed up what the decisions that staff and the engineer were making as far as the direction and design of the project was very helpful. Another one, and I don't want to undermine this one because I think this is very important, that the project had neighborhood advocates. So there were people on the street that were advocating very hard for this project to happen. And I know since I was the one who fielded most of the initial phone calls from residents, even through project construction, there were several people that were very unhappy with this project throughout the project, from the time they got the first letter through construction concerns and all that. But I think having those residents, their neighbors that were in favor of the project, that backed up what the commission decision was when they were just on the street, walking around, talking to their neighbors, was very helpful. And I would, if the commission is able to find neighborhood advocates for future sidewalk projects, I think that's very helpful to have those people on the street that are in favor of it, because the residents on Woodland, even of their own accord, started a GoFundMe to help raise money for some of their other neighbors who may be elderly or may not be able to pay for their cost sharing or whatever it was, and raise a significant amount of money. We did not make them do that, they did that on their own accord.
Right.
But having those people on the street that were willing to do that, I think was very helpful toward the success of the project overall.
I wonder if, Move Lebo, I know, does a lot of advocacy for this stuff. I wonder if there's something to be done with putting together the results of this, kind of what we learned, and a group like Move Lebo, I could say because I know we now have stuff in place that says if you want a sidewalk project in your area, these are the parameters, a mix of the legal, how to do it, and what we learned, put together in a report by Move Lebo, might go to concerned residents who want to do something related to sidewalks. And, we did a big engineering study, and that's how we decided the ones that we would put in place with the mobility board. But maybe there are groups that kind of rise up and say we've got a GoFundMe of 20 grand and we have 4 neighborhood advocates and we're ready to roll. That might change the calculus for future projects.
Yep.
Maybe we can get this to them if they don't already have it. Suggest, it's like, almost like a design guide.
Sure, yeah, that's a good suggestion, thank you. And then from a staff standpoint, I think we were very clear about what was happening and when the timeline was. We did send multiple points of communication out to the residents between letters that were mailed to every household, podcasts, social media posts, stuff on the website, articles in Mount Lebanon Magazine. So there was a lot of information that went out about this project. So the residents on the street were certainly very well informed about the project that was happening. And then I'll turn over to John, who is the project manager through Gateway, to talk about the contractor's work.
So, I mean, overall, the contractor work, it was good. Sidewalks are in, it looks nice. There's
great.
still some issues I'm working through. Overall progress was slowed down here and there with issues relating to the trees and some homeowner interference, had some setbacks. But overall, I think the project went pretty well and it looks good. They're still not done. There's still some punch list items I need to come back and fix. And that's what I'm working on now.
When you say homeowner interference,
Yeah, I'm intrigued as well.
such as?
There was a homeowner that got their lawyer involved and threatened to sue in the middle of the project, but within a day, Phil was able to work it out and the project was able to proceed. So it was about 1 day of.
Yeah, and there were some people, this is getting into part of the issues we had with the contractor, and we're gonna talk about it a little bit more, but they didn't have enough supervision on the project.
Right.
They had a subcontractor who was a tree contractor out there. The residents went out and said, "You cut that tree down, we're gonna sue you," and they walked off the job. So it ended up, they asked us for more money because they had to pay somebody more money to take those trees down,
Yeah.
and we said, no, sorry, that was your problem.
Yeah.
You didn't have the supervision on the job. But I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but one of the things that we definitely think about is we want to start the work earlier so that if there are tree issues, that we get the trees taken care of in advance of the actual work on the sidewalks taking place, whether that's a separate contract or how we end up doing that. That was a challenging part of the project.
It held up that whole block.
Yeah.
While we waited for those trees, with big red X's on them, to remind everybody they were coming down.
It's also a question of, do we actually include that as part of the next contract?
I know.
Or do
Yeah,
we
we
do that
just-
on our
Yeah,
own?
contracted.
Bid it out on our own?
Yeah, do it, yeah.
It's probably more efficient that way.
I suspect you're right, because then you take out one less thing. But I think it was also important that we were unequivocal from the very beginning that if everyone, that we were doing this, period. End of discussion, there was no negotiating, we just agreed to do it, so.
Yeah, so we talked, Ian already talked about staff time, contractor issue, we talked about the first part of it. And John, I don't know, in terms of timeline and schedule, you're still dealing with that with them.
Yeah, they provided a timeline and a schedule that nobody really understood how to read it. It was, from an engineering standpoint, they had stations, which we had stations on our plans, but what we really wanted was at what house number are you gonna be at and on what day?
Right,
And they didn't provide that to us, and then they weren't updating us with that schedule at all. We weren't even told that they were moving off the site until after they had moved off the site because of the tree issue.
I'm just seeing we got 6 more slides left and we're at time, so you want to
Yeah,
round it up?
I can,
Can I, real quick, just getting on the subject of time, that if it's possible as we go forward on these things, that's obviously for future commissions, for staff to somehow informally, whatever, to record some of that time.
Yeah.
Because I think it'd be good for the evaluation to say, okay, well, with staff is spending 30, 60, 120, 2,000 hours, whatever, per street. I think it'd be good to know
Yeah.
what that staff demand is for future budgets, future staffing.
Yeah,
If you want, I don't know, if you want to spend additional time on this, we could push this stormwater to the next.
I would just want to go over a quick recommendation,
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'd rather do the streets if you don't
With,
mind.
with the staff involvement, we think
Sidewalks.
it can just be reduced with, having a clear transfer
Yeah,
from Public Works and engineer, and then more supervision on the project. We just had milestones that we stopped out and we checked on the contractor to see where they were.
Supervision on the part of the contractor, or?
Yes, whether it's in the contract for the contractor to have their own inspector or Gateway inspects.
Yeah, I mean, we include full-time inspection on street reconstruction because it's so customer sensitive and
Right.
there's so much going on, so much to be measured. We didn't have as much time built into this because it's sidewalk. It's not that complicated, or it shouldn't be.
Should be very easy.
But the logistics of it, given the way the contractors behave nowadays, I mean, I've suggested things as much as, can we just put a line item in that requires the contractor to have a supervisor on site and we pay for that through the contractor? You know, that they provide better supervisory activities and we control that. We say, hey, that's a pay item. Your guy wasn't there. I'm not paying you for that item.
Yeah.
You know, or, you know, we spend more time on the job. We try to work projects together as much as possible, but it just seems that these contractors are so needy. And there's, you know, like on this one, you know, the guy that bid it subcontracted most of the work. Didn't tell us about it, but we worked with him because the contractor was good. But then again, the guy at the top wasn't really watching what the other people were doing. I mean, it's just, the world out there with contractors is just so bizarro.
Right.
So maybe just that, so that,
Babysit them all day
Well,
long, that's what it is.
I would want to make sure that we put in more engineering hours, because I also think there's a sensitivity on the behalf of the residents that they're dealing with someone who they think understands them, and John is a perfect person that, you know, with that caliber, but it's important. This is an important thing to people. With all the disruption, we need to honor that and have someone there that really answers the questions and knows the answers, because I know there were people getting different information from different, you know, they'd ask just the guy in their yard and it'd be an entirely different answer.
Right.
You know, and then I'd get a call, Ian would get a call,
Yeah.
Even if it's an answer they don't like, it's important people feel heard.
Yeah,
You know,
well, but
why
also
are
by
these
someone who
trees
really
ripping?
knows what's going
Sure.
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
has a view of the whole project.
So the last two items here, we were looking at where we talked about starting the project earlier, specifically getting the tree work done
Yes.
prior to any construction. So as soon as school lets out, then you hit the ground with putting in sidewalks, the trees are already done. And then the last one would be options for the non-sidewalk items such as walls to allow residents to select and avoid issues of, you know, we had cheek walls that were brushed concrete. We had many residents reach out, hey, can I do this wall? Can I do this wall?
Oh, I see, give them an option
And
instead
if
of
we
just
just
the
put them in as
concrete.
line items, we have a number for it, and then, you know, it goes to them at that 10%.
So they pay extra if it's a different type of wall,
Yeah,
perhaps.
yeah, exposed aggregate's gonna
Yeah.
cost more than
Cost
crushed
more
concrete,
than
yeah.
crushed concrete. Okay, yeah, that makes sense to me.
And then just some other miscellaneous construction issues, no spoils or materials should be stored on the street. You know, we need to push more on no monolithic pours. The curbs and sidewalks are always supposed to be separate. That was an issue, that they had to redo a couple ADA ramps. Then the plate colors need to be called out more clearly on the plans. And we talked about restoration should be required. We're thinking doing it block by block. So after they finish the sidewalk on one block,
Sure.
immediately move to restoration.
Right.
These guys waited all the way until they were done before
Right.
they started
And
restoration.
we got a million calls because of it.
Yes,
And our street reconstruction contractor, as soon as he's done paving, he's restoring as he comes out of the road. It's done, he starts restoration after the curbs are done.
Yeah, sure. Makes
It only
sense, yeah.
makes sense, you know, like, and it's just being smart about it, and, you know, again, these guys, the first time they did it, everybody thinks they can pour concrete.
so just
That's the problem.
on these items, I mean, these are like, so the construction drawings, like you guys are reviewing all the construction drawings. Is this just
No,
like
I
we
mean,
need to,
Again, we had it on the plans, but again, they weren't
they're
paying
just not
attention to
doing
the
it?
plans.
Okay, got it.
Right,
You know,
Right.
and the monolithic pours were not allowed, so they didn't notify us to even inspect their forms, like before they poured. Then they go ahead and pour it together, you know, all together, which are not allowed, and we gotta tell them, take it out. So that takes time, you know, it's a fight.
But that's not like a
Why? Why
charge,
do we
those
have-
aren't extra charges, right? Like they can fix that.
They're not extra charges, they're just more the reason to keep an eye on what the heck's sidewalks going on because
More
they,
inspection.
yeah,
So I think the next slide can be the last one. So at the January 28th discussion session, which was almost 10 months ago, the commission, we did talk about where we wanted to go next after Woodland. And the commission direction at that meeting was for Greenhurst and Lakemont to be first. Greenhurst because of the connectivity between Bower Hill Road, St. Clair Hospital, down to, there are sidewalks going down the hill where the high school kids put their graduating year that leads down
Right.
to Main Park and the high school, but between, the section between Lakemont coming off of Bower Hill and then about halfway down Greenhurst, there is no sidewalk. So that was the commission direction for the next one to tackle, and then connecting that one through kind of the S curves of Lakemont, which is the cut through for St. Clair Hospital traffic when shift change happens to get southbound to the communities that are south of us. I used to live in that neighborhood, so I know there's a lot of cut through traffic there. And that does also connect over to Hoover Elementary as well. So one of the things, just to get back to what we talked about with some of the lessons learned about moving the timeline up. On the Woodland project, we didn't bid it until like late March, or we bid it in March. Bids were received in April, and our idea was to, get started on the project when school let out in June. But if the commission allocates funding as part of next year's budget to do Greenhurst, then our recommendation would be to get started, put those bids out soon, like beginning of the year, and then potentially be in a spot to authorize the contractor to start the tree work first,
Yeah.
potentially do the tree work in April and
Yeah.
May while school's still in session. And then once school's out in early June, the trees are already, if any trees need to be removed on Greenhurst, I'm not sure. But, do some of that ancillary stuff first, and then when school's out in June, be ready to actually start on the sidewalk.
Yeah, that's it.
One more question, just this is, we get new people show up at our meetings all the time. TSL stands for
Type, size,
and
location.
yeah.
type.
Type, size,
Size
and
and
location.
Thank you.
So that was the analysis of which side of the street to put the sidewalk on, how wide it should be set right against the curb, should it be set 4 feet back, 6 feet back, so on and so forth.
I stole that off of PennDOT, that's a PennDOT term. They use that for bridges, type, size, and location. It's applicable.
The last two slides are just the map of Greenhurst, so I think
Yeah.
we're good.
Good.
So any other questions from the commission?
Not related to this, but if you hang around for a second. So the last part of this, so I got a lot of complaints in the last couple weeks related to Bower Hill and projects around
Sidewalks.
sidewalks, and I know some of it is utility work, a lot of it is sidewalk work and stuff like that. So when I talked to Keith about it, so I'm wondering, Phil, I think we need to figure out a way to do these contracts differently. Because my understanding from our conversation, Keith, is we request or demand, and don't really enforce, one or the other, that projects get done before the school year, right? Because like, one of the big problems we had was with Bower Hill, right? We had kids walking in it, it's not safe to be walking on that road. So if we're trying to get projects done before the school year starts, we need to be able to mandate that in the project. And if there's no recourse to the contractors, then it's like, who gives a shit, and let's just not get it done. So we need to be able to change our contract so that we're not just looking at a year-long contract, right? Because what I gather, and maybe this is incorrect from the conversation we had, was it's not considered late on their contract because their contract is municipality-wide, so that one individual project, which we requested they get done before the school year, which is obvious why we would request that. So what I'm saying is we need to figure out a way where we can force them to complete projects near schools before schools open. And if we need to change our contracts to facilitate that, we should do that.
I have a
We do
question.
it.
Yeah.
We do it, that's utility companies, right? I mean, it has
Well,
to.
there's
Yeah,
a number of factors that come into play here. Number one, we're 6 square miles. We have 5 elementaries, two middles, 3 high schools. So
Right.
try to find an area that's not in proximity to a school district.
Right.
Or to a school. So that's issue number one. We do meet with them. We try to have them complete the work that is immediately adjacent to a school while school is not in session.
Sure.
The work on Bower Hill was technically outside of, immediately in front of. The other thing that happens is, and it's not a bad thing, every year we put our contract out. The school district piggybacks on our contract, because that way they don't have to bid it. They borrow our contractor for a 2 to 3 month or 2 to 3 week period to get the work done immediately in front of the schools. So we lose them for that 2 to 3 week period, and then they come back to our work.
Yeah.
So for next year, what I said was, we will meet with the school district once we know what the scope of our work is. We'll have a meeting with the school district. We'll say, hey, look, here's what we're doing. Here's how we're going to time it. You tell us what you're doing.
Yeah.
When we get to the week before school's supposed to go back into session, we'll reconvene that group and say, here's where everybody is. I'm going to assume the school district's work will be done because they don't give the contractor a choice. And say, hey, look, here's what we still have left, so that they can clearly communicate that to the students, the parents, and everybody else that may be potentially impacted. If we limit only doing work while school is not in session, we're gonna do a whole lot less work.
Yeah, we're not
But
gonna get a lot done.
we're limiting that work to the work as close to the school as possible. If we have a couple projects that fall outside, I think we can very easily draw that distinction with people. But I think what we don't want to do is have projects that are very close, one. Two, involve sidewalk disruption where kids are needing to use those sidewalks. And then I think with Bower Hill, it's obviously a major route. You know, there aren't a lot of ways that people can walk internal. You know, they have to go all the way over, which is not practical, and we know that they're not gonna do that. So I think we just need to do a better job of understanding when the projects are happening, having probably more check-ins with contractors, especially on projects that start late. And I think we need to do a better job contractually of demanding that those projects get done.
I
And one,
want to ask if that would limit the number of contractors who would bid.
Oh, sure, I mean, the more stipulations you put on things, it's not gonna limit your bidders, it's gonna raise your cost,
Or
that's
raise
all.
our price, right.
And then they still won't get it done.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's different, because if we're talking about a separate project, right? Like, if we have an entire project that says you're gonna do, I don't know, 5 miles of street or sidewalk for the year, right? There's no liquidated damages on that. But if we say you need to get this project done in this stretch of road
Right,
in this month,
right.
that's a different story. And there's more of a,
Liquidated damage in that.
yeah, there's more of an immediate need to get
Yeah.
that done. So like, I think we need to, and I understand that having that kind of contract will increase the cost. So at least we have that option, right? Because then we can go back to residents and say, yes, we can guarantee that these projects get done, but it's gonna cost 10% more, but it'll be done. That's a conversation that we could have as opposed to, we didn't manage it well enough.
Right.
well, I mean, and that's where, I mean, the idea is, as Keith talked about, the meeting, you know, getting that huddle up before school starts and saying, one solution is say, okay, we want it done. We need to, let's say, have police along Bower Hill there for those days, whatever else, to directing traffic away, something like that. Does that add cost to it? But it's something we say, well, we need the additional construction month or months. But we also have it prepared to say, okay, we're gonna have to have police who are directing traffic, and someone other than just Mount Lebanon should pay for that delay, that we have to then have an officer at that spot.
Nobody's paying for that delay unless it's in a contract. So unless we
That's-
change our
that's why
contracts,
how we
yeah.
address
So I
this
think we
to
need to
say-
have, but I agree, it's a good idea, but we shouldn't wait until a week before to assess what projects near schools aren't going to be done. We should mandate they get done, and if they don't, there should be repercussions for those contractors. In my experience, that's tell me if I'm wrong here, Dan, but if contractors are gonna do what you force them to do.
Sure.
Well, we
I guess
also,
I'm trying to address both the front end and the back end. To your point of how's the contract written, all those things at the beginning of the process, yeah. But it rains, and whatever, we get to August and stuff happens. Sorry, I'm trying to keep our G rating up, stuff happens. And so then we gotta react to things and we then have to adjust to it.
Sure.
This is one of those years that we had all three, I'll call them concrete projects in one year, right? So curbs always get done, and we had the same contractor,
Right.
not unusual, that got all three contracts. So curbs are always done first. Curb work's done first because that relates to the street program, right? You gotta do the curbs before you can go in and do anything with the streets. So that's always priority number one. Then we have root damaged sidewalk slab replacement. And then this year, we also had the assessment program.
Right.
We run that typically, next year will be an off year for the assessment program, right? So we won't have that program out there next year. I can also tell you that, at least to my knowledge, this is really the first year that we had any issue with the assessment program work not negatively impacting
A school.
school.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
We've never had that.
So, again, I think there's a combination of things that we can look at and do here. Everything from contract to,
I agree with your assessment on communication 100%, because that always helps.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that the utility companies are terrible. They don't do it, or they just call it an emergency just so they don't have to do it, which we know they do, and we've called them on that before. It's also the summer, what did we have, 2 days of rain the entire summer? So that wasn't an issue in any construction this year.
It just seemed that the utility companies fired up again after school started. I was like, what are all these guys doing?
we've got them down on Lakemont right now, the water company's down there putting
Yeah,
water line in
right,
October.
right, yeah. It's-
Climate change.
But yes, we can improve, but I think all of those suggestions are good,
Yeah,
including the contract, we'll look at that.
I just think because that's what they go on. You know, it always comes back to, it's not in the contract, so we're not doing it.
That's very true. And a lot of times it's in the contract and they still don't want to do
They
it.
still don't, that's right, I was gonna
At
say,
least
yeah.
that we can say, they didn't do it, we can't stop them from not doing it, but we can charge them back.
Oh, we don't read that book.
Sure, I got any other questions for these stormwater projects?
Stormwater capital projects,
Do you have time to do that, Dan, or do you?
Yeah, sure, I can handle that.
fabulous.
John, thank you.
The whole thing in 10 minutes,
Yes,
awesome.
thanks, John.
I have just one question on the stormwater stuff related to Bird Park or the stream restoration.
You
Oh,
want to start there?
Yeah, sure.
okay,
So I had a conversation with Rob Mackey. He mentioned that
Yeah.
he and, is it Peter Argentine who's on the
Yes.
board?
yes.
Met with somebody from, I might get this wrong, but I think they said they met with somebody from the state who said that related to one of our proposed restoration projects near Bird Park, there may be state, not that there may be state money, that the state might actually pay for part of what we're currently paying for now. But they said that this person's supposed to get back to them. I don't know if you're in touch with them or not.
Sure, I mean, I that's the first, I mean, those projects have been done for a couple of years now. Our stream restoration at Bird
Right.
Park,
Yeah,
That's done.
so I don't know if that would be a reimbursement or something like that, but there are grants out there and we've applied for some of those grants and we didn't get them
okay.
related to it. So I'm not aware of a program that would pay you after the work is complete.
Can I,
I mean, there might be some maintenance, but I'd be glad to talk to anybody
all right,
about it.
I'll just ask Rob or
Programs
Peter to
change.
give you a buzz on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So each year we do the 2000, I'll give you the abridged version of this. I mean, you guys have heard a lot of this before, but we do a stormwater capital project report every year since the inception of the stormwater fee, just to justify to the residents of why we're paying the fee and how much it's accomplishing and why we need to do it. So the essence of this presentation tonight was just to kind of review the stormwater fund quickly, recap what we did in '24, and outline '26, looking ahead at future projects. So I'm gonna jump right into, you guys all know what the fund is. You know we use it for street reconstruction and then to address capital projects. Street reconstruction is mostly curbs and any stormwater work. Since its inception, the fund has been used. I didn't like this way our guys did this. We're really done about $16 million worth of work. In the capital list, there's approximately another $6 million left to be done. on that list that's still out there, including major capital projects and ice spots that are a big part of the list. So we categorize things in terms of 1A, 1B, 2, and then 3 were ice and non-ice areas. 1A is like flooding of residents and damage to their structures. 1B is property damage. 2 is just improvements that would help the municipality in terms of maintenance by Public Works. And then 3 is just the ice spot list. It's that is maintenance also, but it affects residents in different ways. So this year, we're still building on the stormwater feed. So this year, the commission authorized the project. We talked to you guys about this already. Further work to the culvert down at Public Works. It's something we need to do and stay on top of, and that'll be taken care of. We also talked to the commission about this work that's already been done. That was a big stormwater project associated with street reconstruction. This has been a nagging problem for years. It's now complete at the cost of about $167,000 as built. And then Sleepy Hollow, we had just some minor stuff related to things like an inlet repair, cost $5,000. Then we did storm sewer excavation and lining repairs in a number of different locations. We spent a total of about in the range of $50,000 on that work. We did an inlet over on Summer Place. So a lot of smaller items there. On the stormwater, on the street reconstruction, we spent, for storm sewer work, there was about $100,000 on that. And then we used the money for curbs also, which was $600,000 this year. So a lot of work still being done with the fund as we build it up. And we proved to the commission that it wasn't sufficient to do the work that we needed to do. So jumping into just a summary of those projects, and the total amount spent was about $500,000. So for 26 projects and beyond, we went through and the 26 work plan is again street reconstruction, storm sewer installation on reroute projects that are going to benefit multiple properties, completion of outfall repairs. This is just sort of our priority list. And then we just say budget money for annual work for storm sewer repairs. We know there's things that are gonna come out there that we don't know about. And then we've continued, like the sanitary sewer, to be proactive in televising to make sure things don't surprise us. We don't like surprises, we'd rather plan for those. Some of the bigger projects that are still on the list, the Iroquois culvert, we talked about this a couple of years ago. This is a big storm sewer that would need rerouted into the street, would need easements and other things. This has been on the list. We continue to keep it there, continue to monitor it. It's not the highest of priorities for us, but it's a large project. Forest Glen and Woodhaven, we still have that on there for phase 2. Knock on wood, the first phase has worked well. But this is out there. Again, this isn't the highest of priorities right now. 355 Orchard. This is the project I was talking about, the reroute of the project that we were doing through the front yard of persons to get it back out into the street. This is a big one at a cost of $560,000. The one that I mentioned before, sorry, this is the one that I think is priority. Iroquois is a priority because this is a municipal street. This is an old culvert that passes underneath the street. If we lose the culvert or it needs repair, we're gonna lose the street. So this is one we wanna be proactive about. And we've talked to Rudy about maybe doing a full replacement of this with just a plastic pipe, modern material that will be much cheaper to do if we can get it to happen. So this is programmed for next year. Sorry about coming back there.
Thank you.
355 Orchard, as I said, this is one that's not as high a priority, but we're monitoring it in terms of when do we need to do it. There's There's no municipal systems involved here. It's a private pipe on private property that the residents have approached us about rerouting. And that's gonna be a decision if the commission wants to move forward with that in the future.
It's in the CIP.
141 Marshall Drive, this is a project that we've had on the books for a couple years. It's a maintenance issue for Public Works where we're actually piping a portion of the stream. We have this all permitted, ready to go. It's just a matter of getting it in the budget to do. It would, again, eliminate a maintenance issue that the Public Works has to deal with, residents complain about, and its cost is about $145,000. And then in the mill and overlay program, again, we look at solutions to fixing inlets, ice spots, and other things that we can do in the mill and overlay program. And other O&M activities that we have involved, emergencies as we talked about. So this was the summary of the future projects. And Andrew's given us a projected budget next year of $630,000 related to projects. And I need to switch screens here.
And for anybody who can't read the fine print, I mean, the ice spot repairs are, on that chart, what, about $4.5 million?
Right, and Rudy continues to monitor those. I mean, they're there, they show up at different times, some go away, we do some projects that take them out of service, so we continue to monitor the list. But what Josh's proposal here is, next year, is these highlighted projects are what we would project to get us to the $630,000 mark. We have some ice spot projects that are on the list and ready to go. If anything else would fall off and budget permits us to do that. But again, the highlights are Iroquois, as I mentioned, the Hoodridge Stream Restoration, and then you jump into the normal programs for mill and overlay. We have some small lining projects we'd like to do, but it doesn't take long to spend that much money. So again, the budget is $630, we would work with that. The ones highlighted in yellow would be the ones that we would propose. We'll come back to you again before we go out with any of these projects and let you know how things happen. But, you know, if there's no objection to the commission would probably, if these, you know, as the budget process moves forward in 26, would move along with getting these projects ready and out the bid.
Yeah, well, the other thing that the commission directed staff to do a number of years ago was when we do road reconstruction projects,
To fix it, yeah.
we put in storm infrastructure so
Sure.
that we can pick up some of those issues that are creating those ice spots.
Right.
And as we go through, some of those ice spots will fall off just through virtue of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, we have 150 miles of sanitary source, but we only have about 75 miles of storm source. So it just gives you, you know, those sanitary sources touch every home. The storm sewers, in the age that the community was built, they didn't really think about storm sewers back then. So we have a deficit of storm sewers.
Sure.
And that's the difference. So like Keith said, as we do street reconstruction, we've been a lot smarter about it and adding things on where they need to be, i.e. Oroville last year, took a big chunk of money. But it's a great program. I see more municipalities moving to this, especially with MS4. We don't know the next phase of MS4. Again, getting back to like the consent order, on the other side, we have the MS4 order related to storm sewers. The next one they're talking about is volume reduction, which means.
You have to store it somewhere, is what it
Right.
means. What else could you do with it?
Right, and we have, what's our ability to do that?
None,
Yeah,
zero.
right.
I mean, that's
So
almost
I don't
nonsense.
know what that means yet. We haven't
Yeah.
seen the order or what it could be.
Sure.
But again, we don't know what that wild card is out there too. So while we're catching up on capital projects, there's looming mandates that might come down the pike. So this fund is, I think was it supposed to sunset, Keith?
I think it was, I don't know if that's,
By 31, but
we-
we passed it, it's not.
Yeah, we moved on. So I mean,
say.
the way I see stormwater is that, you know, I
Yeah,
don't
it's
I don't
not
see it
going
going away, so.
Hey, can I ask about Orchard Drive? I'm very
Yes.
familiar with this project. That only benefits like 3 properties?
Correct.
The reroute.
Tannins and Sam and.
Yeah.
And really the one before, it's really two.
We had that conversation before.
Yeah,
maybe
no, I
before
just
you-
wanna, I mean, in perspective, you look at the cost of these things, and that's a very expensive project for 3 houses.
Agreed.
You know, I think when you're thinking as a commissioner about what to fund, typically, you would go with the projects that have the most bang for the buck for the different people, that's all.
Yeah, and I mean, and the storm sewer that was where it was put in down, it was put in so that the houses could be developed.
Yeah,
And it
exactly.
was, they're knowing and they're dealing with, it had nothing to do with the municipality.
No, I know, Macero.
Yeah.
And now it's just the road had to be worked on as well. The road's open.
Mascaro.
Oh, it was Mascaro, not Macero,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, they
I get them
confused,
confused. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question? Absolutely. You know me and sewers, I'm sorry. But you know the ravine between like Orchard and Parkway that goes down and the house, the new house on Parkway, they put in all the storage tanks. Is there any opportunity, thinking towards the future, of any kind of green infrastructure you can put at the bottom of that ravine to make it absorb more water? Is that even a possibility, or am I just,
Oh, you can, I mean, the
Unicorns.
modern stormwater design, like if we were
Yeah.
building a new subdivision,
yeah,
they make you do infiltration.
Yeah.
And infiltration is an acceptable practice,
right,
but you need to have area that you can let the water sit and actually absorb into the
Okay.
ground. So it's complicated, yeah.
okay. Yeah, just curious.
I mean, we've tried to do some other things like tree wells where we can,
Yes,
and other things that are more urbanized type of stormwater
Sure.
stuff. There are some products out there that I've seen that I'd be interested to get in and do a pilot project on. The dorm on Potomac Avenue has been a disaster, right? It's falling apart. And their intent over there was good. It was to address stormwater through paving, but
right.
if you don't do the paving right, then the whole thing falls
Right.
apart. But I've
It's
seen
gotta be installed right,
presentations,
yeah.
and I think, I don't know if I talked to Keith about this or not, where you do some of those pavers that you can do on the perimeter
Yeah,
that absorb the water without putting in storm sewers.
that's
That
interesting.
are, and that they've used in other places. So it can be a more cost-effective way than extending storm sewers to capture that you do it in that way. So I asked these guys if they do a pilot project in a parking lot or somewhere that we could see it,
see
see what it
works.
looks like, yeah.
See how long it lasts.
That first version of
Yeah.
that Pennsylvania Boulevard project had $500,000 worth of zero slope storm pipes underground, which are essentially storage tanks,
Right,
which, I mean, ultimately, they didn't get it done, but that's essentially what that was, underground storage.
yes. And that's what, if you build a new development now, that's mandated by the DEP.
It's not us.
It's not, yeah, it said there, you have to get an NPDS permit, and as a part of any NPDS permit, you have to do stormwater, you have to do infiltration, it's just very complicated. It's amazing anything gets done.
expensive,
Yes.
All right, that takes us to 8. We'll do roundups next time. Head over to the meeting.
Great.
Just so the public knows, since 2011, we put the stormwater fee in place.
Yeah.
We put the report every year on the website so that you can go through, and it takes you all the way from 2012, which was the first year we did a project, up to present day, and you can see where the money was spent.
Thank you.